Welcome back to the Pop Chart, a podcast discussing everything at the top of our charts in pop culture. This week, my name is Ezequiel Gutierrez.
And I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Okay, I have a question. Have you actually seen that movie?
I have.
I have
absolutely.
not.
You've not?
I've never seen it.
It's one of the movies that it's kind of like The Room, right? Where you can quote it, but you maybe not have seen it. But when you actually seen it in the moments, you're like, oh, that right there, right? And that's 100% one of them when it finally gets to the part where he's just had it with all these snakes on this plane. It's the whole movie is based around basically that one line, and
it is, yeah. I would imagine the people who went and saw that, who saw all the trailers, were just like, I'm just waiting for that scene.
Yeah.
No, never gotten around to it. Not sure that it's really on my list or worth the time.
The moment has passed. The moment has passed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing, sir?
Oh man, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good, honestly. What's popping with you? Easy.
Oh, we're just wrapping up a little 4-day mini vacation that had us well, we haven't stopped. We both go back to work, but we had a couple days off. We did a bonsai run up to Northern California to visit with my folks for a couple of days. We actually brought the pup along with us to see how well he does, and homeboy doesn't mind a little road trip. Yeah, he did really good. We came back yesterday. We had about 2 hours turnaround time before we headed right back out because we had tickets to see COCO live in concert. So it's like the very popular watch a movie on the big screen with a live orchestra playing the entire score. And I'll tell you, I only ever want to watch my favorite movies on the big screen in this manner because it is such a wonderful blending of two things that one are just important to me as a musician and as just a lover of film. To be able to watch a movie like that, especially a movie that I hold so dear, like that, and wonderful too. It was the National Folklorico Orchestra of Mexico playing the music. So just layers of awesomeness. It kind of an interesting bookend too, because when that movie first came out, Cynthia and I were very much we'll take anyone who wants to go see this movie. We were. This was such a big
Latino
deal.
side was showing just a little bit there when you're
huge.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, huge. We were just we took our family. We took all my family, my grandfather, my dad, my mom, my sisters. Everyone was there, so it was nice because we kind of did that again for this trip. To see the movie. It was only my dad's second time seeing it, and he was like, "Wow, what a way to see this movie!"
For sure.
So that was incredible. I think these things they're doing this a lot more now. I think my white whale would be to watch a Lord of the Rings with one of those symphony orchestras there.
Sure.
But if you have the chance to watch one of these classics with a live orchestra, I highly recommend it. Have you had a chance to do that yet?
I want to say yes, but I can't name it, so I'm actually going to say no. I don't think I have, because most of the time it's been the presentation version that I see after the fact, where they have COCO in concert on Disney Plus. I'm sorry, where did you say that it was playing at when you went to go see it?
It's the North America tour right now, and I don't know if it's wrapping up right now, but we went to Cerritos to see it at the Cerritos Performing Arts Center. I know you and I have seen John Williams conduct the orchestra of his music, which is
that's where I don't consider that the same thing when they played the whole movie, right?
It is the entire film, and every minute is scored except for the scenes that don't have scoring in it. So this is a Disney concert film, so essentially they send this with basically a scoreless version. They're not playing the musicians are not playing over the score in the movie. That score doesn't exist. You're only hearing that. But it's interesting because the movie is so good, but the reason we went and saw this was to experience the music. But you forget sometimes that you go to any concert, and if you're sitting in the nosebleed like most of us do, you end up watching the screen instead of the actual live musicians on stage, which is why you're really there.
Right.
So you kind of have to do that a couple times. Like you're just enthralled by the movie, and you're like, oh my god, like there's a live orchestra like 15 feet away from us playing this music, and you get taken out of the movie because like the score is played much louder than it is in the film. So sometimes the music swells, and you're just like, wow, where is this coming from? You're like, right there, the musicians are right on stage right there. So it was awesome.
There they are. I see.
It was so incredible. Yeah, I would the next time you have the opportunity to do that, I highly suggest that version. It's pretty awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Tickets are pretty reasonably priced as well.
Very. I think we got orchestra seats, like maybe 10 rows from the stage for like 50-60 bucks or something like that. So it was reasonable in my opinion for live music. Cerritos is a beautiful theater, but it's a pretty small theater. Not like Pantages or anything like that, but yeah, it was totally worth it.
I mean, Pantages itself even feels a little small to me compared to like the Orange County Performing Arts Center, which is like really deep.
Oh yeah, Segerstrom, right?
Yeah,
Segerstrom is huge. Segerstrom is big. Yeah, we've seen a couple things there. That's like full on Broadway production level stuff there.
It sure feels that way, and I feel like the acoustics are better in that space than Pantages. I mean,
yeah, I think you're right.
Sacrilegious to say, but like, I know Pantages carries more of the maybe cultural value right now. It's more of a one of those places that if tourists come in, like, what am I supposed to see?
You're like, yeah, well, whatever's playing at the Pantages.
Yeah, technically you're supposed to see it at the Pantages, but like honestly, if you can make it out to Orange County, it's a better theater.
Yeah, it's a nice theater. That's really nice.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I'm glad that you had such a good time. I know you've been really, sticking your nose to the grindstone at work. So any break like this, especially around the holiday season, but before it really kicks into full gear, which as I'm saying it out loud, it really makes me want to do our list of like holiday classics.
Or I think we're gonna have that for something. I think
we're gonna have
to do that. Yeah, we've been busy right up until now. I mean, before the weekend, I was like, well, I want to talk Marvels. So let me go out after we got back from Disneyland this morning. I was like,
oh, you were at Disney today.
Yeah, let me go watch this movie because we got a podcast about it tonight.
Geez, you
busy,
chock full of stuff like Disney, movie, and podcasting all in the same day. You're only one man. I mean, come on.
You know what? If it was easy, or are you? Everyone would do it.
Are you one man?
Yes.
So before we jump into the Marvels, I wanted to briefly touch on the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh
man! A little teaser trailer dropped just I wouldn't say a moment ago, but last week, if I'm not mistaken.
It came out last week. We were talking about maybe trying to do like a live reaction to do like a reel or something like that, but it played in both of our screenings of the Marvels. So instead of doing a live
background right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can't see it, but I cannot. And it's going to be in our footage.
Boy, oh boy.
So yeah, what do you think about this? It's like it's a continuation of the movie or the trilogy really that started back with Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Rise, Dawn, War. It's this is I've talked about my love and admiration for that trilogy on many a show prior to this creation. So for listeners or viewers of this one, I need to make sure you're aware that as far as film franchises or trilogies are concerned, it goes Lord of the Rings, Apes.
Apes is number 2.
Literally nothing else matters.
Star Wars is in there, maybe.
It's there somewhere. It's there.
There's many trilogies in Star Wars.
No, man. Like Apes is, I mean, I've got a tattoo from Apes here. Yeah, this is one of my absolute favorite franchises. What Matt Reeves did with those final 2 films. I don't want to take anything away from who's the first. Oh, see, this is the problem because Rise of the Planet of the Apes is so good. Set that incredible franchise in motion. Rupert Wyatt
Yes.
Just incredible. All three of these movies better than the next. Um, but I am a little bit biased. I did get a chance to go visit the set in New Orleans of
Right.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So being there, I was just like, well, this is going to be my favorite movie of all time. And when it came out, I was like, well, that's my favorite movie of the year
Yep.
without question.
Yep.
Um, but then when War came out, it hit home that these movies were just really well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Just perfectly put together. So when they announced that another one was coming up, but it wasn't going to have Matt Reeves directing, I was a little worried about it. But when they announced that it was Wes Ball, who again did the Maze Runner trilogy, which I think are solid movies.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh, Wes Ball is a very capable filmmaker, and I don't think we're gonna have a problem here. And then seeing the trailer, I was like, it felt reassuring to me that I was like, a franchise that I hold so dear,
Mm-hmm.
still seems like it's being taken very, very good care of. So I am psyched. And Kingdom
Mm-hmm.
has now become my most anticipated movie of 2024. Full stop.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, prior to the trailer announcement and drop, I honestly didn't know that they were making this. And as a fan of the trilogy, actually, you know what? Let me briefly touch on that as well, because I love the trilogy as a complete story. I don't love the third movie. I don't love War at all.
Really?
I really do.
Oh
I
shit.
unequivocally love the first two,
Yeah,
but the third one I don't, because it's so sad. It's just
it is a tough
everything.
watch.
And
It's
yeah,
true.
and like the thing is that, when it comes to movies in general, I enjoy going to it for sharing experiences just like this, where I can converse with you about,
Mhm.
not just you but anybody, about the feelings, like the soaring highs, the low lows. And like War feels to me like it could have been the middle chapter as opposed to the end chapter, because it's like where everything really goes wrong and
Mhm.
nothing goes well. And it's just like there's some things, and again, I agree with from a creative standpoint. For example, and again, this is spoilers for what, like a 6-year-old movie at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. Go
But
for it.
like Woody Harrelson in the third one, like plays a great antagonist villain. In the trailers, they paint him to be more of a mustache twirling kind of bad guy, but in the actual movie, he feels more like an actual general making strategic decisions to cripple his enemy. And I don't like that when I really like the hero, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't like this guy. So
Yeah.
then again, just being fluent in the language of cinema and media, or being somewhat media literate, I would consider myself, like, you're trained to expect a payoff when the confrontation happens. And what I find creatively satisfying is that Matt Reeves, the director, goes with a take that is more honest to War. It's not pretty, it's messy,
Right.
it's you're trying to do everything you can to get your side to win, and it's not often unsatisfying. So like the way in which Woody Harrelson's character dies is completely unsatisfying to me,
Sure, 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 sure. I can understand that. Yeah.
and I hate that.
Yeah, yeah.
I respect it, but I hate it.
Yeah.
And then again, like this character Caesar, who's developed, and you've seen his struggles, and you've
Mm.
seen him improve and love and care and nurture and hate himself. Like, so that's such a good character, and he
Mhm.
dies. It's like, I didn't want to pay my money to watch this guy die. Okay, I mean,
Listen,
mm, mm.
expert played expertly by the brilliant Andy Serkis.
Who's ever heard of him? He's
Yeah,
just some actor. I
some
mean,
guy.
what
No,
did he
and
do since? Come on.
or prior. No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think that's what I loved about War. What,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's why I also find like things like Rogue One to be um I connect with those ones where the heroes, they're successful,
Mhm.
but they don't get to ride off into the sunset,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting choice, albeit maybe an unpopular one.
Mhm.
Um, but I could see why. I think the pinnacle of that one. It's like it's definitely Empire Strikes Back is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the high watermark for those three. But I think you're right. As a whole, they are great.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a much bigger affinity for War than you do, but I think we
It
can both
sounds like it.
agree.
Yeah.
I think that we can both agree that as a whole story, they are fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good
And
such
so
a good set of
are you
movies.
looking forward to this one?
Yeah,
This one
so
feels much bigger in scope.
right. And so so number one, I would say that learning about it this way, like not knowing that it was being made,
Yeah.
not being caught up, and then like, hey, there's a trailer up. I was like, there's another Apes movie.
Yeah.
Like, and I had to look it up. Like,
Eyeballs, get
when
it.
when is the last time we had a chance to visit this world? Has it really been this long? And it has. Yeah, it's like 6 years since the last one as of now. So by the time this one comes out, it's like almost 7, and that is a long time without an Apes movie. And especially
I think that is perfect
oh yeah,
because
absolutely perfect.
we complain so much about like, why don't you just give us some time to miss these characters or give us some time to just like dwell on that? They're doing that. They're like,
Yeah,
why
we're
don't
gonna
we figure this out first?
like we're gonna talk about that when we get into the Marvels and start chewing on
Sure.
that stuff. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, like the fact that it's been a while, so we miss it and we want to return to this world. The fact that yes, there was a trilogy, but Apes as a franchise has been going on for a
Oh gosh,
much
yes,
longer
of
time.
course.
And so, unlike I don't know, for me, unlike the other franchise mentality, where perhaps they shove things out too quickly, or an ending doesn't feel like an ending. Even though Caesar's story is over, we knew that this world was meant to continue, that it was more or less a prequel trilogy, and I'm excited to see what comes next. But I really wanted to lay that context of how I felt about War that makes me excited about this one. Where, if War was like a depressing, like I rewatched it. It's not like I just saw it once and just wrote it off.
No, it's
But like I
depressing as shit.
rewatched it and I'm like, yeah,
It's a
this
downer.
movie this movie sucks. It's really well made, but it sucks. Like I don't like this.
Listen,
So
Steve Zahn's in it. Okay, that
yeah,
was one of my favorite things about that movie.
but yeah, I mean, I think that's where this is actually kind of um taking the reboot, and it's not a reboot, it's a continuation of the reboot prequel, and like making it more in line with traditional Planet of the Apes stories, or not traditional, but at least the former ones, where we're past all of the development part now. This is where they exist now, and
Yep,
the humans are the um wild creatures, and that's fascinating. It's
super
almost
great.
like a genuine new take on an old concept for Planet of the Apes. And I couldn't be more excited. So if our cards and the stars align, I will go see this with you
Oh, I'm
because
in. I'm
yeah,
absolutely,
like
and
this
I'm
needs
ready
to,
to buy my
happen.
ticket right now. I do want to say, and I maybe I don't need to say this, but I'm going to because this is our show.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to give too. I feel like I gave credit to the studio for giving us the time, but if I'm thinking about it right now, it
uh-huh.
probably had a lot more to do with the Disney Fox acquisition that maybe stretched things and maybe COVID. So I don't want to give it too much credit because I think
Yeah.
if COVID hadn't happened and Disney buying Fox, we probably would have had this movie 2 years after war. Let's be honest.
It's definitely
But
possible.
I'm glad that I'm not gonna say I'm glad COVID happened because we got Kingdoms 8 years later. I'm just saying
Wow.
I'm glad there has been this much time because looking at it, it's like it was surprising. Even you think like okay because it's not the same filmmakers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's the same studio. It's probably the same creative. Besides the director, it's Weta's probably still involved with this.
Yeah.
But seeing it, I was like, oh my gosh, it still
Yeah.
looks the same,
Yeah.
but it's different, and there's new characters, and the apes are like far more developed than they were even in War. You're just like, holy smokes, it's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, like, I feel like, and again, I could live to regret these words because we'll review it after it comes out. But like, you'd have to really struggle to make this bad.
Yeah, I mean the blueprint is there.
Yeah.
Then you've
Uh,
got the
I'm putting it out
you're
there.
laying the groundwork for what came before technically, but even though
Hmm.
it's after.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, you might live to regret that, and now you're putting it out in the world, and I'm like, how dare you for making this movie bad, Brendan? but
Yeah. It's all right. It's all
I
right.
think it's in good
I've got
hands.
confidence.
Wes Ball is a competent director. I mean, shoot, Nintendo thinks so. They just gave him the reins to the live action Zelda
It's
movie.
finally
So
happening. It's finally happening.
that's huge. That's a big deal. So
It
I'm
absolutely
certainly
is. And
excited.
I'm really curious about the Zelda movie, mainly because Link never speaks. So,
Should
like,
be
I mean,
interesting. Wait,
yeah.
you know who also never spoke except for one line in one
Huh.
movie? Caesar, Rise of the Planet Apes. He didn't speak either, man. And that movie is fantastic.
Right. So, I mean, like, immediately, if they choose, like,
That's gonna be tricky though.
yeah, to give him a voice and like talk a lot or not talk a lot, I really feel like he should be a more reserved character. But we'll get to that when we
Yeah.
cover that. So I think that takes us to our girls in the Marvels. You want to
The
chat about that? Because
Marvels.
I definitely do.
I do.
100%. It's a little bit of context before we dive 100% into spoiler talk. Miss Marvel, and she doesn't really take her name, but Captain Rambeau, coming from the Disney Plus series, and then of course Captain Marvel, coming from her movie from 2019. Shockingly, can't believe
Yeah,
it's been that long already.
it's been a while.
uh yeah, Captain, this is a more of a sequel to that, adding in these other two characters from the Disney Plus series, which I think is a really smart way of integrating them in. It definitely makes you like the characters faster, so you can just kind of get to the story
Yeah.
about it. And the story of this picks up 30 years basically after the end of Captain Marvel from 2019. That movie was set in the 90s, when Captain Marvel, Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, gets her powers from the one of the Infinity Stones. They were bouncing around everywhere back then, I guess.
Yeah.
And this at the end of her first movie, it finds Nick Fury and Carol Danvers trying to help the Skrulls relocate. And while they do kind of touch on that, well, not kind of touch on that, it's a big focus of Secret Invasion. They
Mhm.
don't really acknowledge the events of Secret Invasion too much in this sequel follow up. So, yeah, it's mainly kind of picking up from Captain Marvel's first film, whilst incorporating in those other storylines. This one is supposed to take place roughly around now, 2023, I guess. And it, yeah, finds our heroes in a situation where their powers have become entangled, as maybe have seen in the trailers, which is a really interesting and fun concept for any team, I would say. Like, you could stick
Yeah.
the Avengers in there or the Fantastic Four or something, and this is like just one of the things that happens in comic books. And that's what I really enjoyed about this, the spirit of like just picking up a comic book, doing something fun, and then like, okay, what else does it need to be? And that's where I had my good time with this.
Yeah.
The characters, the actresses especially, are just all so charismatic and fun. And I do not get why so many neckbeards don't like Brie Larson.
Don't get it.
What exactly is your problem with this? Like, she seems like such a great actress that happens to have an opinion that, like, just because you disagree with her about one thing,
Yeah, she's
it's
so talented. She's
so
so
good.
charismatic, and I've seen like people say she's a charisma black hole. I'm like, what? What
Yeah, what are
movies are
you
you watching?
seeing?
What are you
Yeah,
watching here? Because she
seriously.
looks like she's having the time of her life. She looks like she's
Right.
having a really good time with this. I think she plays this character so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like perfect for this role,
Yeah.
and she's bringing it, man. Like
She
she's
brought it.
bringing it. Yeah.
It's been brought in.
Yes. So we're both coming at it from we've seen WandaVision, we've both seen Ms. Marvel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Marvel, probably one of the highlights of the Disney Plus shows for me so far.
Right.
I think Iman Vellani is such a breath of fresh air in this whole Marvel cinematic universe,
Mm-hmm.
now that she's in there. And to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, the first of the character of the first new character to be introduced in a Disney Plus show to be brought into the MCU. Am I right?
Well, I mean, seeing as Tiana Paris's
That's true. I
uh
mean, but she technically also
Monica
was
Rambeau.
introduced in the original Captain
Right.
Marvel,
So yeah, if you're
technically
just
as a
following the
character.
character, you're right.
Okay.
Um Yeah, because I can't think of a character because Moon Knight hasn't shown up yet. She-Hulk hasn't shown up yet. So I think you
Right.
might be right. Yeah.
Pretty close at least.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Captain Marvel. I know that movie, we could talk about that till we're blue in the face about its reception and review
Yeah. Yeah.
bombing and
Yeah.
toxic masculinity and all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I unabashedly loved Captain Marvel. I thought it was so much fun. Albeit, a little paint by numbers, but still really a solid introduction to that character.
Yeah.
Um, I liked WandaVision and that character. I loved Miss Marvel. So I was like really expecting, like, even the trailers. I was like, yeah, this movie was made for me because I love all these characters and I liked Captain Marvel and this
Yeah.
is going to be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to say that I really, really liked Captain Marvel. I think, or the
The
Marvels.
Marvels. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really liked this movie. There's so much negativity around Marvel as a whole right now, and then
Mm-hmm.
especially you see the numbers, and obviously box office is not the measure of a good movie.
No.
Um, but it's hard to like escape the like this is the lowest grossing MCU film ever, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, that sucks for the people involved.
Mm-hmm.
But I think post Endgame, this is my favorite MCU film so far.
Really.
Maybe No Way Home, right? I think obviously No Way Home
Mm-hmm.
is probably the high watermark to this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
but like this is way better than Quantumania, way better than Love and Thunder.
Uh-huh.
I keep forgetting about Guardians.
Right.
But that's not great either. Um, this was a
Yeah.
blast. It gave me
Mm-hmm.
everything that I wanted to see in a team up movie with these three characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really looking forward to watching Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel's kind of relationship play out, and
Mm-hmm.
I got what I expected to get. I got, um, you know, yeah, it's not just like fluff. It could have easily been a whole lot of fluff, but there's some scenes like specifically like Captain Rambo calling out Carol Danvers for never coming back.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting. I was like, oh shit, we're doing this. Okay, this is cool. Um, the choreography
Right.
between them switching is really really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
The perspective of her being the annihilator, um that was really fascinating, like a totally different viewpoint of, we think of Captain Marvel as the hero, one of the heroes of Endgame, right? She
Right.
helped destroy Thanos,
Right.
but in but all the while, like she had kind of Thanos the planet, not thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it while she's saving the world. We're like, yeah. Meanwhile,
Right.
in the background, she like kind of destroyed an entire civilization.
Right.
Um, that was a really interesting take, and
For
can
sure.
then kind of like go back in time and see her do that,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted her to do post Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But then the fallout of that is like really a center focus of this, and our villain, so to speak, in this movie, um is kind of a um creation from that moment. I don't know, I really liked it.
Yeah,
I
no,
really really liked
for
it.
sure. Like, yeah, same. I really enjoyed it too. So yeah, like, just to again before jumping into the full spoilers, I really enjoyed it. It's a good time. It reminds me of a comic book in energy and in concept. And yeah, to touch on what you talked about with the Annihilator angle. So starting with Captain Marvel herself, at the end of her film, she was kind of swore vengeance against the people who tricked her and denied her her previous life. And that is reasonable. But as you also mentioned, that's kind of like Thanos in the sense where you're only thinking about your own stake in the game and you end up maybe inadvertently destroying a whole planet with innocent people on there.
Yeah.
Not really cool, Carol. So yeah, like Captain Marvel is more or less like the, what would you say, the Superman analog, I suppose,
Hmm.
in the current MCU, where she is basically all powerful and mainly indestructible. So how do you make that person relatable and something that you should be interested in following? Well, you give her a human problem of like making mistakes and only thinking about yourself and then having to live with those consequences. I would say that I'm not a huge fan of this whole because of this one mistake until I fixed it, I didn't think I could come home
Yeah,
deal that she talks about.
I'm with you.
Only because it's 30 years that they say you were gone for 30 years and I needed you here, which I agree with that point.
Yep.
30 years is way too long to be sorting out your stuff. That's something you do in your teenage years, Carol. Okay.
Yeah.
It's called growing up. All right. Just.
And during that time, you had fought like an intergalactic battle and dealt with like death on a scale you've never hitherto undreamt of, in the words of Doctor Strange.
Did you just say hitherto undreamt of?
Like, yeah, like pull your shit together, Carol. Like that
unacceptable.
That is a bullshit excuse.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm with Rambo on this. You're like, nah.
Yeah,
not okay.
I would have. I mean, like, it does paint her in a bad light, which is how you're supposed to see her. But like, that doesn't hold water for me. I would have preferred something else, like was keeping her away, that she was busy helping, and yeah, maybe for the last 5 years she's been trying to deal with the emotional damage. But
well, not only that, but it's like it's a good excuse, like in Endgame, where they're like, are we going to see you around? She goes, listen, there's a lot of other planets that are dealing with the same stuff. I'm pretty busy. It's like, okay, in that context, I get that. Yeah. In this context, I do not. That's not an excuse I accept at all.
Exactly. Now, some of the let's talk about the good things that I liked before diving into Kamala and Monica. Number one, the integration into the MCU as a whole, I think, was handled really well. It didn't feel like, hey, we have to force the story in this direction to make sure the next movie coming up is. Actually, we don't know. Maybe that's the reason why we're not including that in this film.
Yeah, maybe.
But I really like that like, again, full spoilers, Valkyrie shows up out of nowhere. I was like, hey, my girl Valkyrie's here. That's awesome. And she's gone. Oh, you know what? That's all that you needed to do. Yeah. Pretty cool.
And there's a reason for it, right? There's a reason that you're kind of like, okay, it didn't feel shoehorned as much as a lot of these moments do feel shoehorned. We'll talk about the mid-credit scene, or no, actually, end credit scene. Like it felt like, oh, that might be who you call, right? They're still trying to rebuild, and they're kind of like open borders over there in Asgard. Like, let us take in your tired and your poor. And so that felt good. Like, of all the people she could call, like, I'm sitting there when she said, like, I made a call, and I was like, okay, who's this gonna be? It takes you out of the movie a little bit because you're like, okay, let me see if I can guess. And I was like, oh, I didn't guess that one, but I was like, well, that actually makes sense.
And it honestly is one of the answers to online discussions. Like, well, if the Skrulls really needed to go somewhere, then why didn't they just call Valkyrie? She's like got a whole kingdom, and you know, she can do whatever she wants now because Thor just gave up Asgard to her. Like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, who else are you gonna call? Tony's dead.
Right. Rest in peace.
For now.
Oh, don't you? I feel like we could fill a podcast with that.
Yeah. But like, that's what I mean. Like, it makes total sense. It was just long enough to make you go, hey, cool, it's Valkyrie. They had a nice, sweet moment, and it's over. And again, towards the end of the movie, Kate Bishop shows up, and it's like, that's the perfect amount of Kate Bishop. You just need Hailey Steinfeld for a day. Let's just shoot the scene, and yeah, we're done. I much prefer that sort of stuff for the MCU integration. The other thing,
it's not the Ant-Man what was his name before he was Captain America? Falcon. It wasn't like Ant-Man Falcon where it's like, we got to do this whole thing and make sure you're, blah blah blah. It's like, nope, just they exist. We all recognize that they're all here.
It's like there was a certain point, I would think, in the Defenders TV series where they mentioned like, oh, the incident in New York, or like the battle for New York, and I was just like, guys, just I've had enough. You've said it plenty of times. I get it. I get it. We don't need to be reminded. Hey, by the way, this takes place in the MCU is what it sounded like,
Right.
And then this one, I think it tells its own story while still being an MCU movie, which I thought was great. And then again, in the spirit of like just comic book fun, they go to a planet where their language was singing, and I love that idea. I honestly wish they did
so more, good. I'm so relieved.
More with it, right? Like I was seeing some of the reviews and online discussion where it's like, yeah, they had a fight. Why didn't they show them communicating like, oh, the flag on the left?
I was like, I'm watching this moment and I'm going, well, this is going to be the thing, the scene in this movie that are going to divide audiences, right? Some people are going to look at this and be like, oh, what the hell is this?
What have they
They've
done?
jumped the shark.
Right.
What on earth is this? And then I felt like I was like, this is just weird enough that I'm into it.
Yeah.
It felt like kind of like like if Star Wars can do this, why can't Marvel do this? It is so strange, but so unique. I was like, what a thing you would absolutely read in a comic book and be like, okay, the writers went to some places here where this whole civilization can only sing. That's very interesting. And she's like giving context and dialogue in sing song, and you're like, this is so weird and cool. And I think some people are gonna hate it, and I was luckily not on that end where I was like, no, this is fine. I think some people are gonna be like, this is cringe.
This is exposition. It's not a transition. We must have to. We are on a mission.
I thought it was great. I thought it was so cool.
Let's go. You know, yeah,
yeah. Did not hate it at all.
Yeah, and then like the other two are just like dancing, getting along.
Oh yeah, in that little corner where they're just like, oh wait, shoot, there's stuff going on.
They're feeling themselves. And by the way, that dress that she transforms into, I wish was like in the movie more too. Like, could she have just had the fight scene in that sweet Captain Marvel dress? Like, oh dress. Man, pretty cool. Yeah. So again, overall, I really enjoyed it. Things that I didn't like about it, I wish that it was a little bit longer in the musical aspect. They didn't explore it quite enough. I do feel like they were pretty easy-handed on some of the drama that they tried to enact in the movie. Specifically, like the tension between Carol and Monica, I didn't really feel like hit hard enough. Like they could have really dug in more, or like, you know, had, I don't know, just they feel like they were pulling their punches, maybe is a better way of saying it. And it, kind of just something that maybe just bothers me, I didn't like Captain Marvel's second outfit. I love this version that I've got on the screen right now with like the bright red and like the blue, and even the short sleeve version. Like, I think that looks great.
It felt a little DCU on that second one, a little toned down and muted.
It was like the other two girls are bright and colorful, and then like Carol is just this dim, huge star on her chest, and I was just like, I was off-putting. It didn't look like a superhero outfit to me, while the other two absolutely did. So
it didn't look like a Marvel superhero outfit. It looked like it was in a Zack Snyder film. It looked very much like Superman's dark suit.
I thought it was just unfinished, right? Like
right. We hadn't put that second coat of varnish on it yet.
There's supposed to be something else there, but
I did really like a Ms. Marvel's suit when she gets suited up in that same same planet. I remember in my head thinking like, oh, I really like that one. It's just a slight tweaks here and there, but like I love the angles on her suit. They're so cool.
But did you expect her to have the mask, like the domino mask like she has in the series? Because I did.
I was waiting for like the scarf to come into play because because like I just remember like the scarf plays a big role in the comics. And so when that guy's like, oh, use the scarf, I was like, oh, it's like a little weapon. I was like, oh, okay, good integration. I like this.
Yeah. But then that's the only time that she used it. So it's like
right. Right. Yeah. You could have just whipped I don't even know the villain's name. She's kind of
and that's the other part that probably doesn't hit quite so great in this film. Like she apparently this is the real life partner of Tom Hiddleston, right? Like the actress who apparently the actress who plays the villain, who I can't even really remember her name. It was like Dar Bend or something like that. Like has a really well thought out villain arc in terms of like, if Captain Marvel came to our planet and you watched that happen, you'd probably be pissed at her too.
Yeah.
It's very reasonable, but yet like all she's there is to be like, hey, I'm the plot and remember. And that's about it. I don't know if you took it the same way, but that's how 100%. I took it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even remember her name. right? There are lists of villains that I'd be like hard pressed to be like, I don't even know that character's name, right? Anything from, like that Ant-Man and the Wasp character, I don't remember that villain's name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some things that are just, in the grand scheme of things, right? You've got villains who are like in multiple films,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll never forget Thanos, and we'll never forget Loki, because those were such iconic characters.
Right.
So these smaller ones that kind of come and go throughout this thing are a little bit harder to recognize unless they're like
Yeah.
absolutely crushing it. So I feel like maybe she wasn't written as well as she could
Oh
have
yeah,
been.
like I'm not putting this on the actress at all,
Oh
who,
yeah,
she's
she's
doing
pretty
her
good. She's
her
pretty
level
good.
best, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's just like you made her the 99-cent store Ronan the Accuser
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with the wrong outfit. Like you gave her the same hammer and essentially the same power. Uh
Like, albeit I'll say, like, I agree with the like 99-cent store version of Ronin. I think her drive is a much more fleshed out than
yes.
Ronin's was.
Yeah.
So I like that about her, because you almost empathize with her a little bit, going like,
Hmm.
I mean, how could you not? You're trying to protect your people and this and that. And they have that moment where, Carol Danvers is saying, like, I get why you're doing this.
Yeah.
But you're going to end up destroying yourself, and potentially, unless I fix it, your whole people and your planet and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which she ends up doing. Um, I am I'm trying to figure out if I remember, she's on the hunt for the bangles.
Hmm.
The Bengals one that we've established, Kamala Khan has one of them,
Right.
and she's looking for the other one. I don't really know, like, besides the whole time and space thing, like, how did she come to know about the Bengal? We don't really get that. She's just,
Yeah.
movie
Who
starts,
cares?
she's on the search for it. All
Yeah,
we
that's
know is,
all you
like,
need to know.
if you watch Ms. Marvel, you'd know what this thing is, right? I think some people are going to look at that and be like, "Oh, here's another MacGuffin." But if you've watched Ms. Marvel, you know how powerful this thing is and how
Yeah.
important it is to this whole world as it is. So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's a very meat and potatoes. Like
100%.
you need to have like a something that we're both going after that we can have conflict.
Yeah,
Nah, we cool, we cool. All right, then let's go.
right.
And yeah, so I would like to wrap up our conversation about the movie with this great article on Gizmodo of 11 burning questions we have after the Marvels. And
Oh, okay.
I'd like to attempt to answer it. So spoiler warning, which we've already talked about. And this, just to give full credit, is written by James Whitbrook, and at the time of recording was published yesterday. So,
Nice.
question number 1: did all of the Tarnax's 4 scrolls go to New Asgard? Which I think is a very interesting question. So it's saying in the immediate aftermath of Darben, yep, sucking out the atmosphere on Tarnax, we see their ruler and a small group of Skrull refugees on Carol's ship, whisked away via the Bifrost by King Valkyrie. But there was more than one ship that managed to escape the world amid Darben's assault. Where did they go? Did they also get invited to New Asgard? After the events of Secret Invasion, is Earth at large suddenly just totally fine with a bunch of Skrulls showing up in Norway? Or will they now be living in secret again? So when I read that, I immediately thought, yeah, since the emperor, or what did he say his name was, like the guy in charge of the scrolls,
Yeah,
basically had everybody that Talos did not, because Talos had everybody else.
that's right.
I assume that since their leader went with King Valkyrie, he would have been like, hey, anybody else who made it off the planet, uh come on down, we're gonna be right over here.
I Yeah, I would think that they all of them that escaped that planet also went to New Asgard.
Yeah,
That
I
would be
think so.
my that would be my guess.
Yeah. Question number 2: what happened to Aladna? I think is how it was pronounced.
That's the
The
water planet?
water planet, yeah. So the article says this honestly might be the biggest and wildest fallout of the Marvels. In the second act, which is built entirely around Kamala, Carol, and Monica trying to protect Aladna from Darben's water heist, they ultimately fail and they have to escape mid-assault. But they like never go back and
That's
address
right.
what happened,
First of all,
right?
water heist. Great. Awesome. Water heist. So good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
like,
hope that God, I hope like it
Like,
took
did
some
no
time
one
for
go
them to
check?
shut. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
they literally piece out in the middle of it, and it's like they
yep.
just protect themselves. That's a source of contention between the three ladies. It's like, Kamala's like, whoa, 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 we can't just leave them. It's like they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't know, will they? Because
There's no scene addressing it. So hopefully, like director's cut or like second cut, revised George Lucas it and like put it on Disney Plus and give me the answer. So yeah. Question number 3, which actually brings up the post-credit tease, which we have not touched on, but a good place to start. The film's big post-credit tease has us learn that the universe Monica stranded herself in. Oh, by the way, for those who didn't watch the movie and somehow listen to the podcast at this point, Monica stranded in the Fox universe for some reason now, because the bad guy basically tore a hole in reality, and she had to stitch it up from the other
other side.
side.
Ooh, when she said that, I was like,
Boy.
wait, from the inside, that means you have to go over there. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm maybe not as smart as Carol Danvers because I didn't go to pilot school and all that shit. But
Right.
when she said that, I was like, oh, she's gonna be stuck over there. And Carol was like, wait, what are you doing? How are you gonna do? I'm like, duh. She said she has to be there.
Were you listening?
Are you paying attention? She's
Yeah.
so
So
selfish.
Monica stranded herself in to seal the gateway breach in none other than that of Fox's X-Men movies. But how much of those movies actually happened by the time of the Marvels? Clearly not Logan, considering X-Men and Charles, who gets name checked by Beast, are still very much alive and kicking. Same goes for the timeline shenanigans that lead to Days of Future Past's dark future. So are we after The Last Stand and 2 Deadpool movies? In fact, if Logan somehow matters to Deadpool 3, and Deadpool 3 is now an MCU movie, as it's been repeatedly said so far, will we get multiversal shenanigans now that Fox X-Men universe is firmly established, akinstance, I don't know this word, to prime MCU reality? So, yeah,
one, my brain hurts.
yeah.
That is too much to think about. We
Mm.
do have an idea because it's Kelsey Grammer's Beast.
It
Right.
is. Kelsey Grammer's Beast shows up at the end, and I went, I know that voice.
Yeah, so it's Kelsey Grammer's Beast. It's a character, Maria Rambeau, um, who, the mother of
Monica.
Monica Rambeau. Or am
Yeah.
I switching the two things?
No, Monica's the
daughter.
hero in this movie, and
Yes.
yeah, and Maria's the mom.
And she's playing a character we have not met yet.
Binary.
Binary, who has she looks a lot. She's got the kind of similar insignia, like starish things, but she's got both bangles on. So it's like, oh, okay, now we're gonna have to get an explanation on how she got this, and all this is too much. So what was the question?
So where
are we?
Yeah, so with timeline shenanigans and the fact that it's Kelsey Grammer's Beast and not like Nicholas Holt,
Right.
If we're to take everything that happened in the Fox movies, X-Men movies specifically, as canon, where in that timeline does this fall? And it's likely before Days of Future Past or Logan.
Yes.
But it's going to be after Deadpool 1 and 2, but also after X-Men The Last Stand. And
well,
like
also
said,
this whole like the new Deadpool MCU movie that's coming out next year is probably going to get even more confusing because he's going to go on a multiversal killing rampage. So I'll be honest with you. Here's my honest answer. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
I thought it was cool, and it does not matter to me when it is. Yeah. It's like I get that people want to put that together for me, and it's like who cares?
I think my explanation, and I'm pretty sure that Deadpool is going to say this too, is that, yeah, it doesn't matter, but more importantly, it's just, these are the X-Men movies, right?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's as far as you need to think about it. Like, well, where does it fit into the MCU? Hey, you saw them, right? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You got it. Okay.
Don't try to figure out where it is in time. Just watch it. Because, like, would you just look at Wolverine's blue and yellow suit? Oh my god.
That's
yeah. I'm telling you. Right. That's gonna be Ryan Reynolds next.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of binary, why is Maria Rambeau binary in that universe? The other big shock Monica faces waking up from her ordeal, other than having Hank McCoy up in her grill, is right beside her in the med bay is Maria Rambeau, except in this universe she is not her mother,
Mm-hmm.
she's in fact binary. And unlike in our reality, where our Maria got to the, what do you call it? Got to the crash site second because she was flying along with Carol.
Mm-hmm.
She got the powers. Now, in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, she shows up in a different universe as Captain Marvel. So this is
Right.
yet another version of Maria
Oh my
Rambeau
god,
who
I
turned to
forgot about that.
binary.
Maria Rambeau was in that one.
Yeah, so there, I even saw something that's not in this article that suggested that, yeah, perhaps in every other reality, Maria gets to the site first and is Captain Marvel in just about every other reality.
Interesting.
Carol is our like variant, and then in this X-Men universe, she's binary, which is kind of like Captain Marvel as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually going to say on a slight tangent, well not tangent, but like to answer this question, why is Maria Rambeau binary in that universe? I'm going to say they just established X-Men. We're going to get Rogue. Rogue historically has gotten her powers from Captain Marvel. But I think they don't want Rogue to steal her powers from Carol because they want to keep Carol around, right? So I think they're setting up Maria to be like an analog to Captain Marvel in the
And that's where
Fox
Rogue
X-Men
gets her.
universe. And then Rogue is going to steal the powers from Maria, not from Carol, so that you can still have your Brie Larson and you can have your Rogue as well. That's
Look
what I
at
think
you.
is going to happen.
I had no idea that that was a thing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's where Rogue got her powers from.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's
Had no idea.
if you've seen Rogue be able to fly and super strong, is because she held on to Carol for a little bit too long, and apparently that's how Rogue's powers or mutation works. It's not,
Holy
she,
crap.
yeah, if she touches somebody, she gets to absorb their powers temporarily.
Yep.
But if she
Right.
hangs on longer, it sticks around longer. If she hangs on long enough, it'll stay. So that's what she
Chish.
did. Yeah,
The more
yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the thing I just mentioned, is Carol Danvers a multiversal anomaly when it comes to Captain's Marvel? In the comics, Binary is the superhero identity of Carol Danvers in the 80s when she was a close ally of the X-Men and had previously had her abilities as Miss Marvel depowered, like I was just saying.
Yeah.
So,
I
which
like that
means
theory.
yeah, which means on film at least we've seen more universes where Maria Rambeau became Captain Marvel than we have where Carol Danvers is between Binary and Captain Marvel glimpsed in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So it's very interesting that on the big screen so far, Maria has consistently filled the multiversal mantle more than Carol has. Maybe it's a convenient way to keep Lashana Lynch around because, you know,
She's
why
great.
would why wouldn't you?
She's so good.
Yeah. But yeah. Um, okay, next question was Darben creating incursions. So, as again established in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, incursions are where two separate universes collide and like bad things happen. And it's
Mm-hmm.
essentially the premise of Secret Wars. So, 2025's what's looking more like 2026's Avengers Secret Wars now is presumably going to be the culmination of all of these storylines. So we can like finally see the incursions as they play out. So the whole plot of this movie is was she punching holes in the interstellar network just to destabilize the network, or did it also upend the like barrier between realities, which is what it kind of said at the
It felt
end.
like to me it was the only time though where it was like a reality affecting was the very last one.
Mm-hmm.
The other one just seemed like she opened like the portals. I didn't see that as like a, I guess, galaxy defining. It would be crazy if like Mars was right there
Right.
in our planet, but I didn't know that that's an incursion when
Mm-hmm.
planets are, or realities. I thought it was when realities were kind of colliding.
Yeah, I really feel like this is going to be another hey, don't matter, just things are sliding
Yeah.
together. That's that way we can bring in all of these different people from different movies.
Yeah,
Cool.
open those portals up, bring them in. Let's
Let's go
go.
have fun.
Yep.
Next question is how will Monica get home? This leads to the bigger question about how Monica can get home if the barriers between the Fox X-Men verse and the main MCU are already thin enough that Darben's shenanigans could kick off a potential incursion. Given that Beast implies that people in his reality are at least aware of alternate universes, travel between them still seems pretty rare. So, sure, Monica now knows that she has the power, given enough energy to seal those breaches, which will probably come in
Just
handy by the time we get to Secret Wars.
pop them open.
But would she willingly threaten to breach a hole in 2 universes just to get back? I'm saying no.
No.
She's just gonna stay there, and whatever happens in Secret Wars, that's how she gets back. Like,
yeah,
you have to have an MCU presence in a different universe in order to make that happen.
I agree.
All right, coming up to the end, what will happen to Saber? I don't care.
Don't care.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
This is the one that I definitely want to talk about. Who else is on Kamala's Young Avengers list? So, the Marvels concludes with its own little cute homage, which I loved, by the way.
Yeah.
To the first MCU post-credits stinger, Kamala Khan emerging from the darkness to enlist someone in her own Avengers initiative. In this case,
she's lucky she didn't get an arrow to the dome, bro.
Right.
I've been like, oh.
So, considering that it's pretty clear that Kate Bishop is going to be the first recruit, and we were guessing that America Chavez is an obvious choice. Who else, besides maybe Peter Parker, could be a new Young Avenger? Have we even met them yet? Is what they're suggesting.
I didn't even think about Peter Parker's current predicament.
Yeah.
He's going to need to be on a team.
It's true, but nobody really knows who he is.
Yeah.
Right? They just know Spider-Man.
They know there is a Spider-Man, but that is it.
I think that has everything to do with Sony being like,
yes, you can't play with us.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, aside from Kate Bishop, she name checks Stature, Ant-Man's daughter. So she's probably the first 3. I think I saw something that confirmed that as well. Given that Tommy and Billy, like Wanda Maximoff's kids, were figments of her imagination, I'm ready to just write them off.
Write them off. They're not a part of this anymore.
Don't think that they're happening.
That's true. The Ant-Man's daughter does play a somewhat significant role in Quantumania,
and they recast her with a new actress, I think, with the intention of doing this.
Sure.
So yeah, could a variant of Loki be on the team? I don't know. Haven't seen season 2 yet, so potentially.
No.
Anybody come to mind to you?
No. Well, I know we're getting, maybe if Ironheart.
Oh, right. Ironheart's coming up.
Yeah, maybe Ironheart. I wouldn't say Echo, because
she's not very young.
She's not young. Neither, and then what's her name? From Black Widow is on her own team.
Right. She's on the Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts. Yeah. So I would just say Ironheart and America Chavez, and I like the idea of the Peter Parker angle, but he might be just too big for his britches because
it's true. It's true.
He's an established.
And me personally, I think whatever Young Avengers thing that they do, I feel like it would be better as like a special, like a Disney Plus special, not a series. Just like do a special, kind of like Werewolf by Night. Here are the Young Avengers. You know them, you love them, and we're done. You have an Avengers thing now.
I like it.
Yeah, I really don't think that they could carry a movie, or it should be a movie,
or 10 hours of a show,
right?
Or 6 hours in Loki's sense, 6 episodes.
Almost second to last question: are the Kree cosmic allies now? So, big part of Carol's arc in the Marvels, like we talked about, is destroying the Supreme Intelligence on Hala, then promptly piecing out, kickstarting the Kree Civil War and the degradation of Hala's star, setting the stage for Dar-Ben's radicalized ascendance as Supremo. I didn't even know that's what she was called.
Yeah, Supremo.
But now, Captain Asimo, you must call me Asimo now. Anyway, so Carol restarts the star. Does that fix everything? Like, is Carol actually going to stick around to help? Could the Kree give way to other Marvel cosmic rivals like the Shi'ar, which is what it says? The Shi'ar are in the X-Men. I don't know.
I think that's what she's gonna spend the next foreseeable future doing, is helping the Kree. So yeah, they wouldn't have shot it the way they did. The filmmakers made sure the Kree saw her do it.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. They were very focused on the Kree seeing her reset the star and being like,
we're friends now.
Yay. So
we're
100%.
Friends now.
Yeah, I think they definitely they're allies now.
Yeah.
Oopsie, sorry for turning off the light. Let me just There you go. Yeah.
I accidentally blew up your son, but it's okay. I put it back.
Yeah, I put it back.
Jeez. Second to last question. Who's keeping all these flirkin? I don't know. Nick?
Oh my god.
Oh,
That was
excuse me. Fury?
Suri. That was kind of interesting. I got a kind of a kick out of that. It's like, just everyone stop running, let them
eat you.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. So no, I'm sorry. That is the last question. But again, great article from Gizmodo. Some really interesting questions. And I look forward to what comes next. If I had to give it a rating, I would say it's a solid B, maybe B plus.
I would say B. I would give it a solid B plus. Like I said, I was looking forward to this one. Not like I wasn't looking forward to the last few MCU movies, but they've just been such a letdown. Yeah. It felt really good walking out of the theater tonight being like, that was fun. Like I would go watch that again. I'm excited about the future of that, what comes out of this, and then I was like reminded that like, every news article you open is just like the worst opening, and I'm just like, so what? This was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had to actually tell my wife, I was like, every time I take her to a new Marvel movie, she's always asking, so what's next? What do we get to see next? I was like, honestly, we're not going to get very many movies next year.
Right.
It's just going to be one and some TV shows. So hope you're okay with that. I mean, we don't have to go out to the theater to see it, but
right.
So yeah, I think on the docket is, like you said, Ironheart, Echo, which just dropped a first trailer. Deadpool 3 is the only movie.
Crazy.
And then like everything else has been delayed mainly because of the strikes. Thank goodness those are over, by the way. Both of them.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Enough. Good for them for getting a great deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Props to everybody who picketed.
Yeah. I'm excited. Everyone's going to get back to work now.
Yeah. So we have stuff to talk about on our podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my thoughts, our thoughts on the Marvels, right? Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I recommend it. I know like superhero fatigue is a big thing. The MCU, seemingly losing steam. I think you go back, go to the theater, watch this one. I think you'll have fun, and at the end of the day, that's what these movies are kind of about. And the other ones have just felt like they weren't really fun or even good. This one is good. This one is good. It's a lot of fun. It's lighthearted. It's I think this is a pointing in the right direction.
Hear, hear.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. So where can they find the podcast, Easy?
Hey, wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, you can watch us at youtube.com/@the-pop-chart-podcast. And we're on Instagram. And I think that's it. Yeah. Pop Chart Podcast. So go listen, go subscribe.
Suspense.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Pop Chart Podcast.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. Well, maybe not next week, but whenever we decide to record one of these things.
That's right. We're on our time. And remember, live long and prosper.